There we go.
Hi.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
Enjoy your boomer while you can. He
Yeah.
might have to sequester away to an undisclosed location in the very near future.
Yeah, maybe I'll be on a rubber tire somewhere fighting off some gators. No, I'm kidding. We'll see what happens this week. But apparently, we're under another storm warning in my area, another hurricane watch. So yeah. You know what?
I know. I
the
don't
waters
even know
in the
what
Gulf.
to say.
I keep saying the waters in the Gulf are warm. Well, I thought maybe they would stop being warm after the last hurricane. They just, what do I know? I'm sure Katie Nicolau knows all about the hurricanes. Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Aged Boomer, and I'll try to maintain a sunny disposition for the remainder of this stream. Hello, Connie Cleary. Hello, Horizon Talker.
Well, I think you missed one because there's also a new name, but it's an old face. So welcome North Fairfax, also known as FKHC 2005, also known as Tim.
Yes. Where the heck is the old stuff? It's not giving the old one. I saw him on the public part. Oh, well, whatever.
I know.
Welcome.
I've still got it here. That's another thing I'm going to have to talk to StreamYards about.
You're getting rid of the old comments.
No, well, they shouldn't be. And in fact, Netter had pointed this out to me on Friday when I lost the notes. She could still see them. So I don't know what's going on. Anyway, let me go through them because I still can see them, even though you can't. Deleted Scene says, "Hail, Aged Boomer."
Hello.
And me and Netter. So thank you very much.
Man, you had a topical stream tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to catch it on the rewatch. I was looking forward to it, but I got busy.
Longest running superhero RPG.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
What are you doing?
Hey there, Chris.
Let's say hi. Connie Cleary, Space Fraggle, welcome. Let's see here. Big Al was here. Stay safe, Aged Boomer. Thank you. I will try. Hopefully, we'll just all get through this, but we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. Let's see.
All the Netters. I love you too, Netter.
Agent of Chris P, welcome. Always good to see you. Netter of Netters Network. Hello. Did I already say hi to her?
Yes. Did you say hi to Horizon Talker?
I don't know if I did, but welcome, Horizon Talker. Sashi, welcome. Sunny disposition of mine, the wrong channel. Well,
yeah, good point.
Usually I just rant about entertainment instead of ranting about the weather. But anyway, usually weather is supposed to be the pleasant conversation, but these days not so much. Anyway, howdy, JPRPH1. Let me see here. Trying to think who else is here. Am I getting everybody? Howdy, Aged Boomer. Welcome to Pensac. And Lady Mist with the flowers. Thank you very much, Lady Mist.
And of course, Space Fraggle. Oops.
Yes, Space Fraggle. I said hi to him already.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm up on things. Let's just get to it, shall we?
Yeah, let's get to it.
Let's see. Didn't use my real name. Okay, great. Anyway, Geeky Geezers, welcome.
Who needs cancel culture when you're doxing yourself?
Oh, stop it. Anyway, Geeky Geezers, welcome everybody, and welcome to the good old days. And what do we have for the good old days tonight? We have Wesley Snipes' Blade.
That was some good stuff.
Yeah,
that was some good
this
stuff.
was Wesley Snipes' Steven Dorff Blade. This was a big deal in the summer of '98. There were me and my buddies. We saw the trailer, and they were more Marvel people than I was. I was more DC, and they were getting all excited because they knew Blade from the Marvel comics. Right?
Yep. Yeah, and I saw this as Marvel getting away from their very bad 70s and 80s depictions in live action.
This might be the first successful Marvel live action movie.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you're
and
right.
Frankly, as far as I was concerned, Blade was the movie that brought superheroes back to the big screen, because one movie killed superhero movies, and that was Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I kind of did. Yeah.
A couple of years earlier, and it was just a disaster. I mean, it was a year earlier. It was a disaster. It was a. Don't even say you like that movie.
Everybody chill.
It's awful. I cannot watch it all the way through. Even for a lark, I would put it on. I have to stop after a half hour. I know. Batman had its issues.
I think what bothers me the most is there's a kernel of good story there.
Really?
The execution is just terrible.
Kernel of good story. The thing with Mr. Freeze and his wife that was done on Batman the animated series.
It was done better on the animated
much better drama and stuff. It's like Batman Forever. You had Jim Carrey as the Riddler, which I liked, and you had Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, which I didn't like.
I still contend that even going back to Batman Returns, they should have separated all the villains out. Each villain should have had their own movie. You should not be putting 2 and 3 villains in the same movie.
It kind of cramps the style.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, here we are, though. Wesley Snipes, Blade, also starring Stephen Dorff as our villain.
Actually, David makes a great point. Wasn't Blade the first R-rated Marvel film? Yeah.
I miss R-rated Marvel films. I miss the Netflix series they had. Disney completely took over Marvel. Now everything has to be... There are certain Marvel characters you can't make PG-13. You shouldn't have to make them PG-13.
Well, not only that, they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to clean it up in some respects, but they also want to adult it up in other ways. And it's like,
no,
pick a lane and stick to it.
Agatha all along. Yeah, we lose Daryl Hannah's butt, but get somebody else's butt. That's what
we're making
a point of. Anyway, though, here we are. Blade. This was a huge movie when it came out. Not necessarily dubbed as a superhero movie in the marketing, because I don't think they even had the Marvel intro on it.
Technically, it's not a superhero movie. It is a comic book movie, but not really superhero.
I don't know. I like how it says the body of a mortal, the soul of a mortal, the body of an immortal, the heart of a hero. I think it says on the front cover. I don't know, but there's the comic book. Mm-hmm. Here we have Wesley Snipes. This movie has one of the best intros I've ever seen. You see Tracy Lords of all people on a hot date with this guy, and she's bringing him to this nightclub. And and then suddenly when he's in the night, she starts ignoring him, and it's like, well, screw this. And it's like all these people are kind of bumping into him and stuff. And then suddenly sprinklers turn on and blood starts pouring on. And then suddenly all the fangs come out of everybody in the club. He's in a vampire club and he's freaking out because I guess he's the main entertainment for these. And then, you think this guy is going to get killed. It's like a horror movie, right? And then out of the shadows walks Wesley Snipes, trench coat, sunglasses. You got the body armor, and they start murmuring, "It's the Daywalker." And then the vampires all start attacking him, and he just starts kicking ass. He just starts turning them into ash, because when you stake a vampire, they turn to ash, sort of like how they did on Buffy. And there's the Tracy Lords vampire. I was always wondering where he stabbed her, but they alluded something, but I don't know. They wouldn't quite go there, but yeah. Look at him smiling.
I am not going to make any Tracy Lords jokes or inferences.
Already getting demonetized as we speak. They'll get a strike.
Yeah, well, the Tracy Lords there's more problem there than just.
I know. She was of age in this movie. I was just going to say. Right. Anyway, by the way, this is under not for kids. Okay, so there we go. If Batman can be a superhero and he has no powers, Blade is half vampire, and he's not a superhero. Well, I think he's a superhero. I mean, was he killing vampires? Who cares?
He's a super being. I'm just saying he's not a superhero.
You think that he's... Now, I know on the Blade TV series they did, I always thought it was interesting that he was... You had this one group, I guess Vampire Ash in the comics was a drug that people get high off of. So these guys were killing vampires and using the ash to sell it to get people addicted. And Blade sort of looked the other way. But would give money to this mission to deal with the ash addicts. It's like, well, they're still killing vampires. These are bad people, but they're still killing vampires. That's what he's all about.
Pretty morally questionable, but yeah.
All right. One of the vampires, he sets on fire. They bring him to a morgue, and he bites this lovely doctor lady here, who I should know her name. Hold on, give me a moment.
Matanui, I was just telling Nate, It has nothing to do with having superpowers. It's about being a hero. The super comes from the powers. The hero comes from the humanity.
Well, okay, whatever. He's not Captain America. Not every hero has to be Captain America.
Right.
Frankly, he's a hero like I would describe Conan the Barbarian. He's that kind of hero. That's how I would explain him.
I will grant you he is the protagonist.
Oh, my goodness. Is he stopping the bad guys? That's all I'm saying.
He's literally hunting them. He's literally going out and killing them. If a cop started going around and killing people that he said were bad, would you consider him a hero?
I don't know. Well, now we're getting into muddy waters. This should be a Friday stream. What defines a hero?
No, I'm just saying. I don't even know why we're talking about him being a superhero. There's nothing in the marketing for this movie. There's nothing within the movie itself where he calls himself
on the poster. It says he's got a heart of a hero.
Well, he has the heart of a hero on a stake, maybe.
Okay. Anyway. Okay, and that's Karen Jensen, the hematologist in the movie, and she gets bitten by this vampire as he comes out. He also attacks, I think, the corner guy, and he just goes running off. And Blade, I guess, decides to, I want to say, take this doctor under his wing because basically she's been bitten by a vampire and she's going to turn. She's going to turn, right? He doesn't give her what he uses, which I think is his serum, right?
Right.
Yeah. But here we go.
Was there even a question of whether it would work for her or not since he was already...
They didn't know.
Yeah.
He didn't know.
Also, real quick, hello, Scott Hughes. Welcome. He says, are we talking Blade? One of my favorites. Part 2 also. 3, not so much.
Let's not talk about 3 right now. Even Ryan Reynolds couldn't save that movie. Anyway,
right.
Yeah, just he's a hero like Conan the Barbarian. Blade ain't crushing his enemies, and enjoying the immolation of their women. I think when it comes to vampires, yes, he is. If there's some vampire couple who fell in love, he'd probably just
vampire lives matter.
Kill the one. No, that's what I love about this movie. Like, he doesn't care. He just hates vampires. He has a wonderful hatred of the undead, which I thought was a relief.
You're not helping the hero case because he's motivated by hate.
Anyways, you know something. Anyway, here's Kris Kristofferson as Whistler.
Yeah.
Remember what happened? I think, what is it? A vampire tortured his family to death in front of him.
Yep.
And left him for dead. So, and I like how one of the evil vampires in this says, in a few minutes, you'll be in hillbilly heaven. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he found Blade as a child because Blade's mother in the movie was bitten while she was pregnant. And she gave birth to him. And that's why he's half human, half vampire. And
it was all pretty much like in the comics. The only thing in the comics took place in the 70s, so mom had this big afro, and actually so did Blade.
Well, to be fair, in the flashback, she does have the afro because it's in the 70s when he's being born. Remember? They kind of adjusted forward, though. Yeah. Yeah, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie when he's going on hunting because he's trying to find out what I believe the villain's name is, Deacon Frost, played by Stephen Dorff. Yep. Who was also in the movie The Gate. Remember The Gate? Yes, I do. About the record they play backwards and the demons and all that. Okay. This is when they're going up to this club, and I don't know if this is another vampire club or just a regular club, and this guy says, "Do you have an invitation?" And then he just kind of smiles, and then the bouncer goes flying through the window. There's Whistler when he says they catch you effers at a bad time. Remember that? And he starts shooting them because they have silver bullets, right? Because silver kills vampires. Yes. They're different. There are rules in this movie. They're different than other vampires. What was it? Crosses and running water don't do anything. But garlic does, oddly enough. Garlic. And then they even had something that was garlic and some kind of silver nitrate mix that they could use to kill vampires. Weird. With. But you saw this movie when it came out, right? No? I'm sorry. I was just reading Matt Inouye's kind of... You saw this movie, right? Oh, absolutely I did. Okay, all right. I have all the Blade movies on DVD. Yeah, I think I have the series on DVD, too. Series is all right. It left on a cliffhanger, which bugged me. I hate that. I did like it because it has a sort of a similar theme where I think the young woman there's another young woman in that she might have been a cop that he basically is giving her the serum, but she's more full on vampire, and he basically is talking to her and your need for blood, you're an addict. That's what it is.
Yep.
Okay. Which I thought was an interesting way of putting it.
Real quick, man, I knew he said he was making a comment about the Batman not a superhero because he heard that argument a lot. No, yeah, I think it's a real simple one though. You're absolutely right. I mean, the whole thing about, I can see the argument that Iron Man and Green Lantern and Batman, sure, they're heroes. Are they super? Not really. What really makes them super is their heroism. Right.
So you think he's super, but listen to me. There's a scene in this movie where Deacon Frost, he's out in the open because I guess they came up with some kind of what is it, like some kind of sunscreen that they can use. So he's out in the daytime. He said, Blade, come talk to me. And he starts saying, look, why don't you join us? He's doing the whole supervillain thing where it's like, join us or whatever. And he gives this whole speech about how, we should be ruling over the humans, blah, blah. And then the only thing that comes out of Blade's mouth is, Frost, you're nothing to me but another dead vampire.
Yeah.
And then this little girl he's holding hostage. I think he's like, he says that by the time I get done with you, they're going to wish they never cut you from your mothers. And as soon as he does that, Blade pulls out his gun, starts firing at him. Yeah. Frost throws the little girl in the air, and I think finally Blade jumps up to rescue the girl before she gets hit by a car after she falls through some glass or something. And then he runs off, and then Blade says, go home. That's all he says to her. I don't know. I love this movie. I love this character. I like the sequel. 2 was good, but
Wesley Snipes is spot on. And
yes.
I know you haven't seen it, so you were a little surprised when I told you this, but he comes back as Blade in all
right, in the new
Deadpool versus Wolverine.
I will check it out as soon as they get around to it. Everyone, Wolf Den Media channel, the Wolf Fleet. We will be discussing all 3 Blade movies Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Okay, be sure to check that out. I want to say I'm a fan of the first 2, and the first 2 got a little more nuance with the vampires, because in this one you find out that there are pure blood vampires that were born and then turned vampires. So there's like a kind of a class system in the vampire world. Turned vampires are not considered as good as the pure-blooded ones. Did you know that? But they're still vampires, so they're going to look out for them more than they would humans, which are just basically fodder. Unless you're like a Renfield type, or I think they'll get humans to work for them too, in the hopes of being turned into a vampire. That's like the reward.
Oh yeah. I mean, I look at the world around me and I see people that will sell out their own for, a little bit of power, a little bit of greed.
What I loved about this movie is just like he says, they have their hands into everything, politics, real estate. And then he goes up to her and he says there are worse things out tonight than vampires. And she says, like what? Like me. But you get the idea. In the Blade world, there are other horrifying things too. In fact, they're trying to resurrect this thing called La Magra, the blood god, right?
Yeah.
And I guess it's going to take over Deacon Frost. Like, remember the trailer, you see his eyes glowing red as he has the sword fight with him at the end. Remember that?
Yep.
Love the trailer for this movie. Love the movie itself. Just kick-ass, good time. And, okay, he's kind of in the same line as I considered other Marvel characters like Ghost Rider and the Punisher, don't you think?
Yeah.
Kind of
absolutely.
In the same vein.
This is what I mean, anti-hero.
Yeah, anti-hero. But... he did finally decide to go after the little girl instead of killing Deacon Frost there,
Yeah.
He's not completely soulless, but I don't know.
Look, even the most complicated villains, which are usually the better villains,
he's more
all evil, right? I mean, look at Kingpin in Daredevil, right? And I mean before Disney came along, right? He clearly had, that something that you associate with the mafia, right? They have people they care about, and they will protect them at all costs. And to a certain degree, there's a goodness in them in that regard. They are capable of having compassion, but that doesn't make them any less villainous in the other things that they're doing.
Yeah, that's true. And even in Blade, sometimes you get more like with some of the vampire characters like this. Like one of the vampires says, look, we need to blend in. We don't need to be starting up things with the humans. We can basically just work within the society we have, we're still going to eat them,
We're still going to eat them.
But it's not like we're not going to bring human civilization to an end. Whereas Deacon Frost is like, no, we should be ruling other humans. And he doesn't like the fact that he's not a pure blood and they kind of look down on him. So he sort of wants to get his revenge on that. So I don't know.
It's fine. It's fine to be all puritanical and whatnot. The only problem is his particular flavor of hybridism gives him a distinct advantage over the pure blood vampire crowd. Being a daywalker means when you are helpless in your coffin, he can just come and take care of you.
Yeah, basically. He has all their strengths and other weaknesses, but he does age like a human. That was his one weakness. He doesn't have the immortality vampires have. He'll still grow old and die, but he has all the other abilities of vampire, and he can walk around.
I wonder if that's a side effect of the fact that he uses that serum instead of blood.
I don't know. Like, could he become a full vampire if he just started feasting on blood or something?
Well,
I don't know.
I always felt, and this kind of goes throughout vampire lore, and it's kind of predicated on a bunch of biblical scriptures. Even back to the Old Testament, that the life is in the blood, right? And blood being the sacrifice for eternal life and so forth. So it was always implied that the vampire needed human blood. It wasn't the blood per se, but so much the life force that is represented by the blood, which you wouldn't have in an artificial serum.
No, I guess not. But it's funny, the hematologist lady, she actually comes up with a cure. She can actually cure vampirism.
Wow.
I think she does at some point, or at least she sees the potential of being able to cure vampirism. But he really doesn't want to be cured because then he loses his powers and he has to keep hunting vampires.
But then does that not implicate him of murder if you are capable of capturing and curing the vampire?
Oh. I don't know. I think he can't cure pure blood. She made a point that you can't cure.
I see what you're saying. It was
you can't cure a pure blood, but like Deacon Frost here could probably be turned back into a human. I think that was what she was theorizing. I don't know. We didn't see her in the sequel. I was disappointed by that. Well, here's what was interesting. People complain about women not having roles in these action movies. Here you go, scientist lady. I don't know. I'm just life force.
Yeah.
I like the fact that vampires has familiars. Yeah, kind of like Renfield in a way.
Exactly.
And they kind of kept that going here. And supposedly, I don't know how this was in the comics. I know how they did it in Blade 3, which was just but he actually runs into Dracula, doesn't he, at some point?
Dracula was a very commonly used Marvel character. He's got his own entry in Marvel comics. So they have their own, just like Universal has their own version of Dracula, Marvel has their own version of Dracula.
I often wonder if the Blade guys were inspired by Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not sure, because it's possible, because the way they actually had a structured vampire society in the movie, and I'm wondering who did it first. Was it the Blade comics or was it Vampire the Masquerade? I don't know.
Actually, the concept of the Masquerade goes before White Wolf games. The idea that vampires...
Is it Anne Rice?
A little bit, but I'd say it goes even before that. I mean, heck, it's implied within Dracula, right? Where he hides his nature. He doesn't let people know that he's a vampire right from the beginning. So it's that's kind of the benefit of something like that. You could say, well, nobody owns that idea, right? So I can use it too.
FKH, the other reason is Tim Blackula. I've not seen that movie. I've heard it's good. I think that was about an African prince that was actually turned into a vampire by Dracula. The title is a little ridiculous, but I heard it's a good movie. It was funny on Venture Brothers, though, they had their Blade character stand in because they had, because they riffed on things. And the Blade character stand in said, I can only kill Blackulas, which are black vampires. You can only kill black vampires because of some rule or something, which I thought was ridiculous.
That is, I don't know.
Like the rule of the superhero guild on that show. Are you kidding me?
That's like,
it's not good enough to kill vampires.
Whose rule is that, and how racist are they?
That was probably the point on the show.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It's like going by like 1970s, like late 60s. It has that very 1960s adventure. Anyway, vibe to it. Anyway, let's move on. Geeky Geezers. Anyway, Blade. Hope we liked it. Yeah, I like it. It's a classic. Don't remake it. Here we are, Geeky Geezers, where we get to talk about.
Don't remake it. I mean, I don't know.
Aren't there a ton of Blade stories from the comics they could just do?
They could just keep going. There's nothing wrong with recasting, people. Just recast these characters. You get so caught up on the actor, you forget who the character is.
Well, here's the deal. I know that Mahershala Ali, he was the one who was playing Cottonmouth on Luke Cage, but they cast him as Blade, and I'm like, well, how does that work if Luke Cage was supposed to be in the MCU? Is that
exactly the
another
same
multiverse
way,
problem?
It's exactly the same way that Chris, what's his name, could play Johnny Storm and then play Captain America.
It gets confusing after a while.
Don't even get me started though about what's his name playing Tony Stark, and now he's going to play Doctor Doom somehow.
That'll be interesting. But welcome everybody to the Geeky Geezers. Let's go to the first story of the night.
Not a happy one.
Kris Kristofferson, who was in Blade, he is now passed on. Hold on a minute. Let me make sure I got my notes up. There we go.
Yeah.
Kris Kristofferson, a Rhodes Scholar. Hold on, I gotta click on the thing too. Kris Kristofferson, a Rhodes Scholar with a deft writing style and rough charisma, who became country music superstar and A-list Hollywood actor, has died. Kristofferson died at his home in Maui, Hawaii on Saturday, September 28th. Spokeswoman A.B. McFarland said in an email to Billboard. He was 88. McFarland said Kristofferson died peacefully, surrounded by his family. No cause was given. He was 88. Starting in the late 1960s, and the Brownsville, Texas native wrote such classics as Sunday Morning Coming Down, Help Me Make It Through the Night, For the Good Times, Me and Bobby McGee.
Yeah.
Kristofferson was a singer himself, but many of his songs were best known as performed by others. He also starred opposite Ellen Burstyn in director Martin Scorsese's 1974 film, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Have you seen that one? That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Young Jodie Foster's in that, too.
Yep.
Starred opposite Barbra Streisand in the 1976 A Star Is Born.
Less said about that, the better.
And acted alongside Wesley Snipes in Marvel's Blade in 1998.
There you go, yeah.
On the all genre Billboard 200 albums chart, Kristofferson notched 19 entries, including #1 soundtrack for A Star Is Born. Very popular soundtrack at the time, right? That was like, I don't know if you had it in your house, but in which he co-starred with Streisand. He charted a dozen entries in Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart, including 2 #1s, Why Me in 1973 and the all-star collaboration Highwayman in 1985 with Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Johnny Cash. On the Top Country Albums chart, he placed 25 titles, including a trio of #1, Jesus Was a Capricorn, 1973, Full Moon with Rita Coolidge, and Highwayman with Nelson, Jennings, and Cash. All right. Yep. So rest in peace. But this is interesting. Kristofferson, who could recite William Blake from memory, wove intricate folk music lyrics about loneliness and tendered romance into popular country music. With his long hair and bell-bottom slacks and his counterculture songs influenced by Bob Dylan, he represented a new breed of country songwriters along such peers as Willie Nelson, John Prine, and Tom T. Hall.
Yep.
All right. So rest in peace. Any Kris Kristofferson's fans here? Yeah. He's a good actor too. Underrated actor too.
You guys might remember from last year when I was doing the bit on variety shows. I did the clip from the Donnie and Marie variety show where they did the Star Wars tribute, and Kris Kristofferson played the Han Solo character.
I remember that. We did that on one of your Friday night streams.
Yep. And his wife at the time was on the show with him.
That's right. John Amos, patriarch on Good Times and an Emmy nominee for the blockbuster Roots, dies at age 84. John Amos, who starred as the family patriarch on the hit 1970 sitcom Good Times and earned an Emmy nomination for his role in the seminal 1977 miniseries Roots, has died. He was 84. He died August 21st of natural causes in Los Angeles. Amos's publicist, Belinda Foster, confirmed the news of his death Tuesday. He played James Evans Sr. on Good Times, which featured one of television's first black two-parent families, produced by Norman Lear and co-created by actor Mike Evans, who co-starred in All in the Family and The Jeffersons. It ran from 1974 to 1979 on CBS. That show was the closest depiction in reality to life as an African-American family living in those circumstances it could be, Amos told Time magazine in 2021. Among Amos film credits were Let's Do It Again with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier, Coming to America with Eddie Murphy and its 2021 sequel, Die Hard 2, Medea's Witness Protection, and Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. Oh man, Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. I'm gonna have to sit down and watch that with you on one of your Mondays if I get a chance, because that's I want to see a reaction to that movie. If you have not seen it, I don't know. He was Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. He was in Ice Cube and Dr. Dre's 1994 video "Natural Born Killers." Amos, Good Times character with wife Florida, played by Esther Rowley, originated on another Lear show, Maude. James Evans often worked 2 manual labor jobs to support his family that included 3 children, with Jimmy Walker becoming a breakout star as the oldest son, JJ. He's the one that you say Dynamite, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Take a look at the private chat.
Yes.
A comment that would be of interest.
Oh, okay. Okay. This is. Should I read this on the air?
Yeah, go ahead.
He asked that when he died to hold off reporting it to the public for a few days so his daughter couldn't make a circus out of it. Oh
wow, that says something about him and his relationship with his daughter.
Yikes! I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just reading as though it's a report. I guess we're okay to talk about it now, right? But
that is interesting though, because I think that can be a concern for especially someone with notoriety, celebrity. Usually, you see there's an announcement made. We're asking, for privacy, so we can more But yeah, I guess it is possible that somebody in the family might be a little bit more, come give me attention,
Yikes. Well, I don't know anything about that, but I wish his family well regardless. It's hard to lose your dad. Such was the show's impact with Alicia Keys, Rick Ross, and the Wu-Tang Clan among the musicians who name-checked Amos as a character for his lyrics. Many fans consider him their TV father. His son Kelly, Chris Amos, said in a statement, he lived a good life. His legacy will live on in his outstanding works in television and film as an actor. My father loved working as an actor, though. His entire life, he was my dad, my best friend, and my hero.
I would also say that, without getting into too much of the behind the scenes of the TV show, you could kind of see even back then in the 70s, I feel like the way they treated him, not on the show, not in the story, but behind the scenes, you could almost see the lessening of the priority of the male role model in the family dynamic, if you take my meaning.
Interesting.
But
she liked him on The Fresh Prince as Will Smith's girlfriend's dad. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh my goodness, that's right. Yes.
He was also in Die Hard 2. Yeah, it mentioned that.
He was.
I almost said Coming to America, and then it said, and its sequel, and then I see Die Hard 2, and it's like, was Die Hard 2 a sequel to Coming to America? All right. But yeah, it's just I mean, I think he was a father figure to a lot of people. A lot of these things were. And let's be honest, I grew up with Bill Cosby, and granted, he doesn't have the best reputation now, but I thought that show was still a favorite of mine to watch when I was growing up.
Again, I really would encourage people to, especially in situations like this, kind of separate the art from the artist.
Yes.
And realize that, whatever you think, for example, you brought up Bill Cosby, whatever you think of Bill Cosby and who he was behind the scenes and so forth, really look at that show and his character. That was a very positive role model of a father for a whole generation. And I mean that full stop. I am not qualifying that and saying of any particular race, creed, or color.
Yeah. Leia plus size. I missed him when he was CBS fired him from Good Times. Show was not the same. Yeah, the article goes on to talk a little bit about that. That's what I was
kind of alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah, saying it was mutual. I mean, he was basically saying, but I think he was saying too that some of the writers were not being accurate, I guess, made of the realities of black families and some of the writing choices they made, which, to be fair, he'd know more than me. I'm going to say that, and probably the writers. But again, I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, though. What did I want to make a point about, though? About Cosby Show. You know what got me angry when the whole Cosby scandal thing was unfolding, right?
What's that?
You had one of the former actors from the Cosby Show. Oh, look, he has a job at Trader Joe's. And I'm like, yeah, because he can't live on the residuals of the show anymore because nobody wants to air it. And he has to get a job. And at least he's, it's an honest job working at Trader Joe's. Don't make fun of him. And it's like, and you and the media were the ones that chalked this whole thing up. So that kind of disgusted me when I like that. Fine if you want to tear Cosby down because you got this stuff on it.
Well,
don't pick on one of the actors because he had to get a regular job. It's ridiculous.
And look, how I am about all of these things. And
it's a horrible thing to work at Trader Joe's.
I will go toe to toe with even all of you guys in the chat. I am a purist about believing that you are innocent until proven guilty. And I have no stomach for people who come up and bring up charges. I don't care how horrible these charges are. If you don't bring them up at the time the crime happens,
I know,
and you don't have proof
after the fact.
I'm just saying, innocent until proven guilty.
But rest in peace, John Amos. I'm sure his Good Times is streaming on something, probably on Pluto or Tubi or something. I'm sure it's there. Gary Coleman too. Oh boy, Gary Coleman. I remember I used to watch Different Strokes, but that's a topic for another time.
I do remember though, when I was young, I don't remember exactly what did he have a form of dwarfism or was it another kind of hormonal problem?
I don't know.
My mother knew. She had read what it was, and she was a nurse practitioner, so she kind of knew. She understood it, and she's like, "That's tough. This kid's gonna have a rough life, and it's not gonna be a long one." And sure enough, he died really young. And I was like, I remembered my mom saying that all those years before.
Good Time streaming on Tubi.
There you go. You
can catch him. Gary Coleman had liver disease that stunted his growth. Yikes. Okay, so his growth was stunted. That's what I thought.
And my mom had speculated. She said even if he got himself, if they were able to get him a what do you call it, transplant, said that's not a long-term solution. And I don't know. She knew a lot more about the medical situation than I did.
Coleman was another one of these poor child stars who had kind of his life ruined. But his, oddly enough, I think it was his parents that took his money and spent it on everything.
Yes.
And I think now there are rules in place now because of that. This stuff has to be put into a trust.
There was supposed to be before because something similar happened back in the days of the R Gang. What do you call it? But real
Rascals,
quick,
right.
I want to say hi to the Clue channel. Welcome. Salute.
Yeah. But rest in peace.
Yeah.
And like I said, we got a lot to cover tonight. Let's get to it.
All right.
All right, gaming talk. Don't leave.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of gaming talk tonight, but we do have a couple of them.
Trust me, we got a lot
and
of.
This is an interesting one because it involves Elon Musk.
At the very end, no offense to that Park Place, you're like, but I've been wanting to talk about this for a couple of weeks because, so basically for a few years now, I have to worry about these wonderful Japanese RPGs they make in Japan coming over here to the States and getting butchered in dialogue and censoring outfits and stuff like that. But they're not going to do that anymore. Now they just censor for everybody at the start, whether you live in Japan or not. Let me get into this. Elon Musk shared his thoughts on Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii accusing American regulators of forcing the removal of the option to choose between male and female characters in the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake. It was reported at the beginning of this month that developer Square Enix was removing the option for players to choose between male and female characters and were instead labeling the character options as A and B. This was reported by Ryoku Tia 2089, who noted the game has no distinction between male and female heroes. Ryokuta also noted that the characters are labeled A and B, with the A version appearing like a male hero, while the B version is the female hero. Ryokuta even notes that the A version is voiced by male actor Hayami Nobuyuki, while the B version is voiced by Minaguchi Yuko. On top of the main character having their sex removed from the character select, Ryokuta also reported that the jobs will also no longer be distinguished by gender and name. These changes were confirmed in a preview for the game in the weekly Shonen Jump magazine. Another user said the preview in the latest issue of Japanese magazine Weekly Shonen Jump confirms Dragon Quest III HD 2D is using Type A and Type B in place of male and female. Following this confirmation, the game was added to the Sweet Baby Inc. Detected Steam Curator list, as well as Kabrutus Rambo's DEI Detected website. On top of the removal of the option to choose between male and female characters, Kabrutus cites that the game also censored the trolls in the game by removing their lips. He wrote on a much more personal, nerdier level, and this one really pisses me off, I must say, is the censorship of the trolls' lips. It's kind of interesting because now we have people in Japan noticing this stuff, and Kabrutus is from Brazil. So it's like, this is international at this point. This fight against the Bokosos, I guess. Not only has the game been added to Sweet Baby Inc. Detective Steam Curator list as well as DIA Detective, but numerous gamers have expressed the game on the Steam forums that they do not plan to purchase the game due to the changes Square Enix has made. McRapp posted, no man, woman, DI censorship. You don't get my money. No man, woman, DI censorship. You don't get my money. Now, I want to say something. I want to interrupt this article. Over here in the West, North America, probably in Europe as well, they've already been doing this to the games coming in from Japan. It's just that now they're just doing it in Japan from the get-go. That's what the change is right here, and other countries. The Type A and the Type B thing, that's been a thing now here, which I don't even think is the worst bit of censorship. It's annoying, but I would live with that. But the thing is, they keep finding other things to change. And one of the things I don't like is when you have these medieval RPG settings and people are no longer using gendered language, which frankly I think is still incorrect English today, but it would certainly be incorrect English in a medieval setting.
Yeah.
You're going to call someone a man or a woman or a lord and a lady. That's going to be a thing, you know.
Well, and there was no concept of these things back then. No one would have wanted to be, you know, whatever.
I don't know. The reason why the exposure of the costumes in Dragon Quest III needs to be reduced, as explained in the interview with Tokyo Game Show. As translated by Valiant News, Horii responded, there were various regulations in place. Apparently not allowed to show too much skin. Yeah, because Horii was asked about the changes because they changed the designs to the female warrior character, who, you know, basically just wearing a lot of body armor, but you know, you see more of her legs and arms and stuff. But the same goes if you get the male warrior. Then now with the female warrior, they've covered her up more, and the male warrior they left alone, even though they're wearing similar outfits. Do you understand?
And that's really kind of flying in the face of their, you know.
Yeah. If there's too much exposure, the age rating goes up, and you won't be able to sell as an all ages products. I really don't understand that either. Apparently, it's not allowed to show too much skin, he added. When asked about complying with various country regulations, Torishimi chimed in, under the name of compliance, it's like an absolute god and evil disguised as a good. There's not such thing as content that doesn't make everyone uncomfortable because beauty and ugliness, good and evil are different for everyone. There are few things that absolutely must not be done. As long as you follow those, you're free to do the rest, he added. Next, he stated there is a religious concept from the West, especially in America, that influences their approach to sex education, right? Their approach to compliance is really narrow-minded. When selling manga in America, everything had to be categorized by age groups. For Shonen Jump manga, they couldn't be sold unless they were rated ages 13 and up because there are risks of lawsuits. The Company also has to get insurance. Doing business with such a ridiculous country is really frustrating. Because of that, Japan gets negatively influenced. So now he's basically saying now because of our peccadillos over here, because I guess of I want to say it's the modern woke puritanism we have now. It's now influencing how other countries have to make their stuff.
I mean, if we're going to be really intellectually honest about it, though, you could be saying the same thing about censorship by the right back in the 80s. It doesn't really matter.
Yes, but the right never told the Japanese that you have to censor the game for your market.
No, but
even at the worst, when we had the stuff being censored over here, they weren't going into other countries and saying the American.
I see what you're saying.
Says you have to censor it there. This is beyond par. This is I guess this is a globalist perspective that we all have to now have the same moral compass, and we decide what that moral compass is. The corporations. In Dragon Quest, you used to be able to choose between a man and a woman for a female character. Now you can choose between a man and a woman. You can't choose between a man and a woman anymore. We have to label them Type A and Type 2. Yeah, see, they didn't have this over in Japan. We've been getting that over here with these characters, though. Yeah, it's happened, and you really have to research how these games are being localized. I've not bought RPGs. I was planning to because I'm sorry, if your game is dialogue heavy, it has to be well written, and if it's not well written, I'm not buying it. Elon Musk reacted to this, writing an X saying, "This is insane." That was Elon Musk's reaction. This is insane.
I'm going to say this about Elon. Like him or not, he is doing a great job of being intellectually honest about his stand on a free speech, right? He's got a right to free speech, especially on his own damn platform. So if you don't like what he's saying, well, it's not your platform. It's his.
It is not. That's a Guru Osada has to be okay. Let me see. You're talking about I want to mention something too, though. The character designs for the original game back in the 80s, Dragon Quest 3, because this is a remake. A really nice, what I thought was going to be a really nice looking remake. It was on my radar to purchase, but I said, wait till it comes out and see what they do to it. And unfortunately, it's a hatchet job. The guy that created Dragon Ball Z, you know how we months ago, he created the character designs for this game, and now they've messed them all up. So those character designs they're censoring, they were created by him, who they were much revering a few months ago, but now he's dead, so they can basically go to town and just change them however they want. So, because basically this is like they're trying to do, you're like taking a classic, but trying to spruce it up a bit while keeping the original aesthetics that everybody liked, right?
Right.
But now that's all been ruined, and I'm not going to be picking this game up. And Square Enix had better, take a hard look at Ubisoft right now. Because they may be heading in the same direction, because they've already been hurting for money.
All of these companies really need to, they need to take a look at what's going on in the marketplace, because even the big companies, the big entertainment industry, Disney and all the movie companies are suffering because of the DEI. But companies like gaming companies that are on a razor thin margin to begin with cannot afford to coast. They don't have resorts and parks and all kinds of marketing that they can draw on, to weather a storm.
Well, what they had here is Dragon Quest, and I'm not splitting hairs here. In Japan, Dragon Quest is very popular. I would rank it like up there with something like Star Wars. Okay, sure. Dragon Quest used to be so popular that when a Dragon Quest game came out, the school system would just have to call, okay, we're just going to have off that day, because the boys would be cutting class to pick the game up at the game store.
Wow.
That's how popular. They wouldn't wait. So they're like, we just have to call off. We'll find out when the Dragon Quest game is coming out. And that's how popular this series is over in Japan. And I guess it still is. But now it looks like they really have taken a hatchet job to this remaster. And the sad thing is they're going to remaster the first two games too.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be the same deal. And of course, in Japan, they're being taken aback by this, because they don't have this stuff over there, but now it's being imported into the stuff now that they consume. It used to be they would just censor the stuff we got from them. They'd censor it over here. Now it's just happening everywhere. And I've heard rumor that I don't know if this is a Sweet Baby involvement thing, or if Square Enix now has their own internal department that does this. I'm very worried that if you have an internal political correctness check system, right?
Yep.
If this department has to find new things and new games to check off to keep to basically say, hey, this, so they can keep their jobs, basically.
That is
always
literally
be looking for new things to censor.
Literally the point of DEI. They exist to perpetuate themselves, not to do anything that's actually good for the company. In fact, and we've talked about this before, so many companies are now being sued because of their DEI policies that are actually breaking equal employment law.
Video game companies live or die by their next game. And do Hollywood directors live and die by how their previous movie did? We'll talk about that later. I'm sorry.
Yeah, good point. No, good point.
All right, time to go to everyone's favorite, Ubisoft. I thought I wouldn't talk about them this week, but
well, they're keeping themselves very much in the public eye. So
Tencent Holdings Limited and Ubisoft Entertainment SA's founding Guillemot family are considering options, including a potential buyout of the French video game developer after it lost more than half its market value this year, according to people familiar with the matter. Yeah, I'm thinking they might be wanting to get out of here. The Chinese tech company and the Guillemot Brothers Limited have been speaking with advisors to help explore ways to stabilize Ubisoft and bolster its value. People said, asking not to be identified, discussing a private matter. One of the possibilities being discussed would be involving teaming up to take the company private. According to the people, Ubisoft shares rose as much as 33% in Paris on Friday, following the Bloomberg News report, the steepest gain in the company's since the 1996's initial public offering. So I guess this is helping their stock. They might join with this company Tencent. Shares of Ubisoft fallen 40% this year, giving the company a market capitalization of about $1.8 billion, $2 billion. Tencent owned 9.2% of Ubisoft's net voting rights at the end of April. The Guillemot family held about 20.5%, according to the firm's latest annual report. Some minority shareholders, include AJ Investments, have been pushing for either a take private or sale of Ubisoft to a strategic investor amid the stock price plunge. So it reminded me of Paramount and Skydance. Am I wrong here?
No. Yep.
Okay. Considerations are at an early stage, and there's no certainty they will lead to a transaction. Tencent and the Guillemot family are also considering another alternative, according to the people. Spokespeople for Ubisoft and the Guillemot family declined to comment. A representative for Tencent couldn't immediately comment during a holiday week in China. Last month, Ubisoft shares fell to the lowest for more than a decade after the company cut its outlook on weaker than expected sales and a delay of the hotly anticipated Assassin's Creed Shadows title. I don't know if it's hot. Maybe it's hotly anticipated to see how bad it's going to do.
Well, yeah, it is. It is like, hey, you see that smoke over the horizon? Let's go see what's burning down.
Yeah, the video game firm has over the past couple of years struggled to recover from a pandemic-era production crunch that resulted in delays in releases of new games and canceled titles. Blame the pandemic. Several private equity firms include Blackstone Incorporated and KKR and Company were studying potential bids for Ubisoft in 2022 amid a flurry of large deals in the video game industry. Bloomberg News reported at the time later that year the founding family partnered with Tencent, which bought 49.9% of the Guillemot Brothers holding company in addition to the direct stake it held in Ubisoft. I remember when years back Vivendi was trying to buy it out. But here we are. Let's go to the next article too.
Yep.
Are we sad about Ubisoft?
No, I'm laughing. I have a certain amount of schadenfreude for companies that have made some very, very, very bad decisions and are now living with the consequences.
Someone said Ubisoft. That's what she said. Please stop. I'm thinking in a French accent too.
Ubisoft. Okay. I'm so sorry. No. Never happens to me.
It never happened to me. Report: Rainbow Six Vice President Cameron Lee leaves Ubisoft. A new report details that Cameron Lee, Ubisoft's vice president of Rainbow Six, left the company. Tom Henderson at Inside Game reported that an email sent to the staff revealed for the time being the role of VP and executive producer Rainbow Six brand will not be replaced. It is unclear why Lee decided to leave Ubisoft. You had your own image when you sent it to me. The rats leaving the ship. Lee joined Ubisoft as vice president and executive producer of Rainbow Six back in April of 2022. In a press release at the time, the company said that Lee would be responsible for creating the long-term brand strategy for the Rainbow Six franchise and aligning and collaborating with all internal partners. Lee previously was the vice president of production at Activision, the general manager of new IP at Bungie. Bungie's not doing so hot. Were they the ones behind Concord?
I want to say, yeah.
Was he behind Concord? I don't know. And a lead producer on both BioWare and Electronic Arts dating back to October 2008. Holy cow, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a Concord connection here?
Possibly.
I don't know. It's interesting, though. He's only been there 2 years. Not much time to help out the Rainbow Six franchise. That's a Tom Clancy franchise.
Right.
Yeah, they had a game series based on it. So yeah, that's done. That's this. I want 2 hours of my kind of implicit bias training I was forced to endure work 3 years ago. It was really a guilt trip for being who you are. I've heard people I know have had to do that at their corporations. You think it's just the government? No, it's the corporations that are buying into this stuff.
Well, but and I'm going to be very careful, Mark, because I'm not going to dox you and the company you work for and everything. But as you have told me,
there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of stuff happening in that company that is coming back to bite them because of exactly that. You told them, they didn't listen, and now they're burning.
I'm thinking of these sessions, and it's like someone has the mask with the rats inside it, and they're going to put it on you if you don't confess.
Right.
Your implicit bias. It's like 1984 stuff. This is not cool.
No, not the bees.
See, I'm talking about 1984. You got to bring up the Wicker Man remake.
Yep.
Have you seen the Wicker Man remake all the way through, or just that scene?
I know. Actually, I've seen parts of it.
It's a film.
Pardon me?
It's a special film.
Oh, yeah, I have no doubt.
It's not just that scene. People point to the bee scene, but there's other scenes in that movie where you're like, what were they thinking?
They cast Nicolas Cage. You know exactly what they were thinking.
I'm not kidding you. I think there's a scene where Nicolas Cage drop kicks Lily Sobieski into a shelf full of pottery. You know, Lily Sobieski. She was in Deep Impact. Okay. Anyway. Moving on. I heard she's tall. Someone I know met her at a party. Anyway, moving right along. You want to go ahead and post a link for this one?
Oh, are we going on to the cinema?
We're going on to movies. Anything left to say about games?
No.
The game industry is not in great shape, but I still think Hollywood's worse.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
But
no, we got some box office talk here.
Yeah, Mark Malakoff, right? Didn't he send this to us?
Yeah, this one came from a contributor who's in the chat right now, Mark Malakoff. Thank you very much.
Francis Ford Coppola's decades in the making self-financed epic Megalopolis flopped with moviegoers. I know nothing about Megalopolis.
I heard.
What have you heard about this movie?
I heard a review. Honestly, it sounded, and I am not even joking, it sounded more bizarre to me than anything David Lynch had ever done.
Is it like a Metropolis movie? Because I'm thinking, I think they do his own version of Metropolis.
It's like a dystopian, sci-fi-ish, futuristic.
So it's like Metropolis.
Kind of.
I mean, it might be good. Is it good?
Not from what I've heard.
It's got Adam Driver in it, which I don't know, man. I just know him from Kylo Ren and also the creep he played on Girls. I'm just not.
I know what it was a. Now, in fairness, this is not probably the best way to consume your review of a film, but I saw the pitch meeting for it.
Oh, that's funny.
Which was hysterical, but I mean, you know how the pitch meetings goes. You got the guy playing the two roles, the guy who wrote the movie and the one he's pitching it to worked for the studio. And the guy from the studio is like, I do not understand what you are talking about. And every so often he would just start playing on his phone. He's like, sir. And he's like, I'm sorry. Are you still talking about this? You know? I don't understand what you're talking about.
Coppola's an odd duck, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you ever see that made-for-TV movie you did for Fox? That had the talking Rottweiler in there?
No.
You don't even know what I'm talking about?
No.
It had that actor who was I forget his name. He was in Tin Man. Did you see Tin Man on Sci-Fi Channel?
Oh, sure.
He was the guy who played the Tin Man. He was in this Fox, and like he shows up on this planet, and he's the doctor, and there's a talking Rottweiler in it.
Oh my God!
Like an anthropomorphic talking Rottweiler, not like I don't know if this was an alien Rottweiler, an alien dog that looked like a Rottweiler, like an alien dog species, or if this was a Rottweiler they did gene therapy on and made into a talking person type. I don't know.
Maybe this is what I should have prefaced what I was saying. Nate brings up a good point. Don't be confused. This has nothing to do with Megalopolis from the Adult Swim cartoons and whatnot. This is completely different.
I'm back. Sorry, I had to do something real quick. Okay, but it's a Doom Megalopolis. Is that what he was saying?
It's I don't know.
I've not gotten that on Blu-ray yet. Doom Megalopolis. That was one of these animes that was pushing the envelope. Back in the 80s and 90s, they pushed the envelope on some of these animes, and I have Crying Freeman. I haven't gotten Doom Megalopolis yet, I think. But all right, it's a dystopian future retelling.
To, Real Wade Nation Gaming, by the way.
Okay. I didn't hate it, but it was the pitch meeting is about right. Okay, so let's go. Flop with moviegoers. While the acclaimed DreamWorks animation family film The Wild Robot soared to #1 at the weekend box office. The Wild Robot, Chris Sanders' adaptation of Peter Brown's bestseller, outperformed expectations to launch with 35 million in ticket sales in the United States and Canadian theaters. According to studio estimates Sunday, Wild Robot was poised to do well after critics raved about the story of a shipwrecked robot who races an orphan gosling. Audiences agreed, giving the film a cinema score. Wild Robot is likely to set up a long and lucrative run for the Universal Pictures release. Paul
That guy, Paul.
Okay, Paul, senior media analyst for ComScore predicted the Wild Robot may take the page from the Elemental playbook by opening to a respectable box office and then going forward with long-term playability. Pixar's Elemental, which like the Wild Robot wasn't a sequel, debuted with a modest 30 million but went on to gross nearly 500 million worldwide. Family movies led by the year's biggest hit is Inside Out 2 have particularly powered box office this year. David A. Gross, a film consultant who publishes a newsletter for Franchise Entertainment, said the genre should reach $6 billion worldwide in 2024, which he noted is back to pre-pandemic levels. Megalopolis, Coppola's vision of a Roman epic set in modern-day New York, was never expected to perform close to that level, but the film's $4 million debut was still sobering movie that Coppola bankrolled himself for $120 million. Following its premiere at the Cannes Film Festival, critics have been mixed on Coppola's first film in 13 years. Audiences gave it a D+ cinema score. What do you think?
Wow. Yeah.
By any financial measure, Megalopolis was a mega flop, but from the start, the 85-year-old Coppola maintained money wasn't his concern. Coppola fashioned the film, which he first began developing in the late 1970s, as a grand personal statement about human possibility. Everyone's so worried about money, Coppola told the Associated Press in an interview ahead of the film's release. I say, give me less money and give me more friends.
I mean, that's fine. And if he's happy with it, it was his money to lose. So obviously I can't fault him for that. If he's okay with the way this movie is doing, great. My only thought is, if you've had 50 years to work on this, don't you think you would have made something a little bit more coherent?
It'll take 50 years for the audience to recognize the genius, I think.
By which time he'll be dead and gone, and he won't even be around to appreciate it.
Studios passed the Megalopolis after Cannes. Lionsgate openly stepped up to distribute it for a fee. Coppola also picked up the tab for most of the $15 million in marketing costs. The film, which stars Adam Driver, Natalie Emanuel and Aubrey Plaza also played in about 200 IMAX locations, which accounted for 1.8 million of its ticket sales. After 3 weeks at the box office, Tim Burton's Beetlejuice slid into second place with 16 million in its fourth weekend of release. Warner Brothers sequel to 1988 Beetlejuice, starring Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, has amassed 250 million domestically in a month of release. That's good, right?
Yeah.
That was a hit. Third place went to Transformers 1, the Transformers prequel starring Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyree Henry. That's an animated movie. After its lower than expected debut last weekend, Paramount release collected 9.3 million on its second weekend. I don't think anybody was hyped for that. Also debuting in theaters was Jason Reitman's Saturday Night, an affectionate dramatization of the sketch comedy institution on the night it first aired in 1975. So it's like a dramatization of the first airing of Saturday Night Live. That might be interesting.
You know what? Curtis is making a great point. Megalopolis, I'm pretty sure, I may be wrong, he is talking some Roman history and trying to warn us that America could go down the same dark road Rome did.
It might be a great movie. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Do you remember a while back they did a Romeo and Juliet in a modern setting? I believe that was with
DiCaprio.
With DiCaprio, right?
And what's her name?
I don't know.
Claire Danes.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
I didn't watch
how weirdly on the nose it was. It was Shakespeare, but it was modern day.
Remember John Leguizamo was in it, who's always complaining he never gets great parts, but I'm just saying. Anyway.
It was just really strange. Well, that's kind of how my impression of this movie is. That they're literally casting like Julius Caesar and these other Roman historical figures, but they're framing them as like mobsters or something like that. And it's like I mean, and they're actually going with these actual names and their familial relationships and stuff like that. And it's like, this is weird. You know, if you want to do a story about Rome,
would it make more sense to make him a politician?
Yeah, do it about Rome. If you want to do something, Godfather-ish, do that. But this halfway in between doesn't work.
Well, anyway, it's now playing in theaters, probably coming to a mystery movie night soon at Regal. Right?
No, actually, I think if it's already out,
they can't do that. They should have been a mystery movie night a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
They should start anticipating what the dogs are going to be and start doing the mystery movie night for those, right? Troy, that's exactly what Megalopolis is.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. Yeah, if the point is the U.S. could go the way Rome did if we don't get our stuff together, okay, fine. I agree 100%. But I think the execution here was not the best.
Or you could just watch I, Claudius.
Actually, I'm starting to think that they could do Caligula. It would be a little bit more on the nose for the way modern Hollywood and Washington are. Although I think maybe they're worse than Caligula, if that's possible.
Remember how I had mentioned about the Grindhouse double feature on Friday when we did stream Friday? Planet Terror? I often thought that if they had done more of them, they should have done. Apparently, one of the various types of exploitation movies is what's known as Caligula's exploitation. So I was thinking a modern person could have done a take on that, but made it about Messalina, Claudius's wife, instead of Caligula.
Interesting.
Had her be like awful and torturing people. I've heard good things about I, Claudius. It's a classic BBC series. Yeah. I lost my copy in the flood, but then I found some in the local library's bookstore, and I got the set for $1. And maybe I'll lose that set this week. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
God!
It's like just this past. I'm fine. I like Guy Claudius, and I like to own physical media. It's just floods don't like physical media. Anyway, not that anything's going to happen. We'll see. We'll see how the week plays out. Let's move on to some happy news.
Well, I don't know how happy this is. we made a movie and we're just sending it right to stream again because whatever.
I didn't see the last Hellboy they did with the actor from Stranger Things because I'm like, where's Guillermo del Toro? Where's Ron Perlman? It was supposed to be a trilogy. You promised us a part 3 that never.
That's what all the fans are saying. I think that's
a part 3, and where is it?
Well, that's why the
Selma
previous
Blair?
film didn't do well, and that's why they're going ahead and just sending this to cable.
Ketchup Entertainment's Hellboy: The Crooked Man. I'm fine with the title of the movie. What, Ketchup Entertainment?
Independent film company? I don't know.
Hits the reboot button on the comic book franchise with Jack Kesey from 12 Strong taking over the title role this time around. And will you be able to watch it? According to pre-order listings on outlets including Amazon, Hellboy: The Crooked Man debuts direct-to-digital home on October 8th, 2024. Hellboy: The Crooked Man is set in the 1950s and co-stars Adeline Rudolph from Resident Evil as a rookie agent of the BPRD who team up with Hellboy to protect the residents of Appalachia from the creepy Crooked Man who is collecting the souls of the devil. I mean, that's kind of interesting. It's in the 1950s, so it's like a prequel, right, to the other movies?
Yeah, and it's kind of a prequel to the hurricane this past week, too. Set in Appalachia.
Of course, yes. Mike Mignola co-wrote the new Hellboy film with Christopher Golden, Brian Taylor of Crank, Gamer, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, and Mom and Dad. Directed the movie for Millennium, based on a Hellboy miniseries from 2008. The story is said to expand Hellboy's world through offering one of the most beloved issues of the comic series. So far, this actually doesn't sound bad. Those are some good names. I mean, the guy that wrote Crank and Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, I think he could write a Hellboy movie or
I know nothing about the writing on this. I know nothing about.
Did you see Crank?
No.
Crank is good fun. Crank is a movie with Jason Statham where he's gonna die, but he had to pump him. He got pumped with some drug, but now he's like, he has the crank in him, so he's gonna find the people that put the poison in him before he dies.
Kind of like a DOA.
I guess, but it's a little more ridiculous. It had the funniest special feature I've ever seen on a DVD.
Okay.
It gave you the airline or regular TV dialogue copy.
Interesting.
Where all the cussing's taken out and replaced with the fake cuss words.
That's kind of funny.
Yes,
that sounds really, really fun. Kind of like the Funky Pete cut of Shaun of the Dead. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a DVD extra on Shaun of the Dead called the Funky Pete cut.
The Funky Pete cut?
Yes, and it does that whole scene where the roommate Pete is going off on an F-word heavy
that's funny
rampage at Sean's buddy, and
that's
instead of saying the F word, he says funk this, funk that. Honestly, it is the funniest thing I've ever heard. And then what's his name responds back, instead of calling him a prick, he calls him prink. And I just
that's funny.
Back up.
That's basically the same thing. Yeah, that's the same thing. Yeah.
And I laugh so hard because it's what they mean. But hearing him say these off words in such a diatribe, I just laugh till I cry.
I need to check that out. That's probably on my Blu-ray. Mike Mignola co-wrote the new Hellboy film with Christopher Golden, and it's with Brian Taylor, who did Crank, and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance directed it. See, Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, I think, is a good resume for a Hellboy movie. I enjoyed that movie. I don't know if you saw I brought this up to you a few times.
Yep.
You have two Nick Cage movies you got to watch. You got to do Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance and Wicker Man. There you go. Right.
I'm not sure about those two in particular, but yeah, I could see doing a.
No, I like the devil at the end of that one. You're the worst fucking mistake I ever made. That's what he says to Ghost Rider.
Oh gosh.
Just everything in that, the villains, it's like the first one, but it was even zanier. Oh man, fork that whole shirty concept. Yeah, basically. Every funking body in my funking department is funking ill. Yes. I think Hellboy would work better as a streaming series. Yeah, I mean they could have done this as like a limited series, and that probably would have had more cachet than just doing a direct-to-video movie. If you could have figured out a way to split it up into like 4 parts, put it on Netflix or something. I don't.
Hey, deleted. I want a funking car right funking now.
There should be they should have. I don't.
Oh boy,
they must have a cut of that. They must have a cut of that because I know.
I'll tell you what, it might be worth it for me to
TV.
clone their voices and redub it.
That
would be hysterical.
That, or if you could find online like an edited TV version, like even with old commercials in it, that might be kind of funny. A funny rewatch for that.
You might have something there. I'll have to look into that. Yeah.
To expand Hellboy's world, Jefferson White Yellowstone stars alongside Ketsy and Rudolph and Tom Farrelly. This might be good. I mean, it can be worse than the last one they did, which I didn't see.
Oh, thank you.
The Crooked Man is a departure where Mike Mignola, the creator of the comics, will finally shepherd an authentic version of his stories and characters in film form. Whatever. I still like the Guillermo del Toro first 2 movies. I thought they were. I
agree. I wanted a third.
They even the second one, which it's funny that came out the summer of Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and Dark Knight, and I actually think Hellboy 2 was my favorite superhero movie that summer because of all the zaniness in it. Just the the thing when he goes into Troll Town, he says, "You're not going to talk, not ever, ever, ever." And then you see this guy go fly, whatever that thing was, a troll or a lizard man, whatever, he goes flying across. I don't know. It was just, those movies were a lot of fun. Let's move on.
We don't have to spend a long time on this.
We're spending some time on this one.
This one was submitted by Big Al, movie correspondent.
Yes, Big Al.
I can guarantee you his review on this is going to be epic. So make sure you're subscribed to Big Al for this one.
Did you watch the trailer for this, man?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, let me drop that link for you guys.
Movies man-eating raccoon brings chaos and gore to Screambox and video on demand. So I guess you have to be subscribed to Scream. What is Screambox? That's not Shudder, that's something else. But,
I guess it's like the horror version of BritBox. I don't know.
Hold on, let me scroll down a bit. I think I had mine after the Filet of Dew articles. There we go. Just when you thought it was safe to take out the trash, the Screambox original horror comedy Raccoon arrives on Screambox and video on demand platforms tomorrow, just in time for Halloween. The film has been fittingly described as Rocket Raccoon meets Cocaine Bear by Total Film, and you can watch the official trailer for Raccoon below to begin the bloody madness. When a synthetically altered street dog is discarded in the woods by a drug dealer during a car chase with police, the fallout proves nothing less than horrific as an innocent raccoon eats it, transforming it into a nightmarish killing machine straight from the bowels of hell. With unsuspecting campers, tourists, and residents of a mountain community all in close proximity to the epicenter, no one is safe from the monster's unrelenting rampage. Night of the Living Dead co-creator John A. Russo appears in the film alongside Rosario Rosso, Justin P. Martin, Gary Lee Vincent, Jessa Flux, Chris O'Brockie, Angel Bradford, Hunter Redfern, Tim Hale, Morgan Thompson, and Tom Hoover. They couldn't get Robert Bronzi for this?
This Guardians of the Galaxy prequel looks weird.
Robert Bronzi, yeah, that's very funny.
Hey, DJ Ronnie G.
Very funny. Is that they did this fit movie called Death Kiss, starring an actor named Robert Bronzi. And you look at him, and it's almost like he's almost like a physical. They found some man in the world that looked just like Charles Bronson, and they put him in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
It's so bad. And I think they overdubbed his voice too.
Oh God.
And the first scene is him going up to this house, like in a bad part of town. He just says, "Cheese pizza." And I'm like, oh, really? You had to go there? You know?
Wow.
Let's just say he takes out some bad men in this scene. It's just,
wow.
And Daniel Baldwin's in it too, and he's just he runs like a pirate radio show where he's complaining about all the crime in the city and won't someone do so. It's so bad.
Won't someone think of the children?
Krakoon joins Screambox's extensive library of unique horror content, including Terrifier 2, RoboDoc, the creation of RoboCop, Onyx, the Fortuitous, and the Talisman of Souls, We Are Zombies, Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares, the Robert Englund Story, The Outwaters, Living with Chucky, Creepypasta Frogmen, and Pennywise, the Story of It. I don't know. Maybe I should look into Screambox one of these days. I'm gonna say though, that RoboCop series, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for it. I know I shouldn't do that, but there's no reason it has to be bad, right?
I mean, I could see it being bad in a good way, you know. We'll see.
Anyway, but
I just thought it deserved a mention. When Al forwarded that to me, I'm like, we got to at least bring this up.
Deleted scenes. You will change your mind when you see this movie. Look at that still shot. Come on, that's sold. That I'm sold, man.
I think the subtitle on this should be "It's finger licking good."
Oh no, they should do a
Never just looks around the monitor at me like you didn't.
I watched Terrifier today. I have to say, not a fan. It was like a high school production of a horror movie. I know that people said Terrifier 2, though, that people were throwing up in the theaters, though. So I've always been curious about the Terrifier series. Looks like the Citizen Kane of cocaine-ridden raccoons. I agree with you.
Oh gosh!
I mean, look at that. That is art. That you could put that up in a museum, and you could look at that for hours on end. I mean, this is just, I'm not a fan of raccoons either. They're not on my favorite animal list.
The Citizen Kane of cracked out raccoons. I'd be afraid that he'd bite me on the rosebud.
Okay.
And then Curtis says rim shot. So boom, there we go. We're done. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay, let me go. I got to scroll up because my notes are out of order. Hold on. There we go. Let's move on to Joker Filet à Deux. Joker 2. It's not Joker 2. It's Joker Filet à Deux. Don't call it Joker 2. Use the full title. Show some respect.
I mean, show more respect than it's getting at the box office, I'll tell you.
Joker Filet à Deux, am I saying that correctly, the sequel to the 2019 Joaquin Phoenix film, has scored an unwanted Rotten Tomatoes score as more critics release their reviews of the movie. Initial response to the premiere at the Venice Film Festival in September were mixed, with some calling it ingenious or beguiling, and others finding it dull and laborious. Beguiling is what you say when you don't know what to say.
True.
Among the critics who praised the film was The Independent's Jeffrey McNabb, who delivered a 4-star verdict and wrote, "The darkness at the core of this film is underlined by its very brutal ending, which rejects comic book conventions in favor of psychological depth."
Well, considering that I'm sure there are a lot of people that agree with me on this. Don't look at this as a comic book movie. This is not the Joker. They just slapped a Joker facade on this to put out a remake of the King of Comedy with elements of Taxi Driver in it.
Okay, but I don't know. I'm sure Warner Brothers is considering this a franchise picture. Phoenix's performance remains powerful and stirring too. The genius of it is that we can't help but care for Arthur despite his neediness and derangement. The film, which is a musical, also stars Lady Gaga as the Joker's sidekick and love interest Harley Quinn. It had a modest early score on Rotten Tomatoes on 61%, as reported by Forbes, placing it as having the same score as the widely derided Black Adam. That has now dropped down to just 39%, as the majority of critics laid the boot into the story, songs, and the much talk about ending. The consensus review on Rotten Tomatoes at the time of the writing is Joaquin Phoenix's eponymous Joker takes the stand in a sequel that dances around while the story remains still, although Lady Gaga's wild card energy gives Filet à Deux some nerve. New York Times critic Menahaya Dargis writes, the big non-news about Filet of Dew is that it's a half-baked, half-hearted musical complete with one star who can sing, Lady Gaga as Lee Quinzel, aka Harley Quinn, and another Phoenix who can't or won't. Audrey Fox on Looper said, even fans of the Joker are unlikely to find much to redeem this chaotic, profoundly stupid mess. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times said in his review, there's always a Joker, there's always a clown, but if he doesn't morph into something bigger and bolder and more terrible, it starts to feel like we've seen this show before, only without the musical numbers. Kevin Marr, the Times called the film messy, lifeless, derivative, and exactly what you'd expect from a film that simply doesn't want or need to exist. Film is set to be the last for Phoenix's Joker. As the premiere, one journalist asked Phoenix about his weight loss for the film, which he said was more complicated than it had been with the 2019 original. I guess in the original, he lost 52 pounds to achieve the lead character's gaunt look, and achieved this by eating a diet of basically consisting of steamed vegetables and lettuce. Phoenix was hesitant to reveal specific details about his diet this time around, telling reporters, I'm not going to talk about specifics of the diet. However, he did say felt more complicated losing weight for the sequel. And there's a lot of dance rehearsal to do.
Yeah.
What do you think so
Nate
far?
says Joker 2 and Matrix 4 are two movies that look like they were made by people who didn't want to make the movie. That was my interpretation based on everything I had heard about this Joker flail, whatever. But honestly, some other things that I've been hearing are a little bit more insidious, in my opinion. I think that the director saw this as a kind of like the concept that Frank Herbert had for Dune, the idea of the don't put too much faith into a human messiah type of story, and he was upset by the audience reaction to it, where people kind of looked at the Joker as a modern day V for Vendetta / Guy Fawkes, someone who represented the downtrodden of life, fighting back against the oppressive state.
But if you watch the movie, the original movie, that's a facade because he's a bad person. He just is. He's a bad person that's been abused by the society. That's
I understand
bad,
that,
but he's not a good guy in the movie. He's not some avenging angel or anything. That's not how I saw him in the movie.
I understand that, but one tends to project their hopes and dreams onto a figurehead, which is fine for a cautionary tale, but it's very tone deaf to not realize that he created exactly what he was trying to caution people against. And he put this out at a time where people really are screaming out to fight against the machine, so to speak.
Yes.
That they are feeling this kind of oppression. That do feel like they need to walk around with a gun to protect themselves because there's nobody else that's going to protect them. That we can't count on the government to come and feed us and clothe us and get us out of our desperate situation because they're not going to. They've already spent that money elsewhere, and you're on your own, and screw you. Here's some cash that you can't spend because the stores have all been washed away, and the ones that haven't are completely empty. Good luck.
Plus, there's a road situation too. But anyway,
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we're sorry. We did other stuff with all of our resources. We can't help you. And when you have that kind of a situation, you make such a tone deaf movie. And so I think that this movie he's trying to correct that by basically kicking everyone in the teeth that liked it in the first place.
This is what I've heard. I've not seen this, obviously.
You're ending your career, buddy.
I've not seen this, but the director and writer of this movie literally hates the fan of this first movie and is bleeding out all through this movie. This is what I've heard. This is one of the things I'm trying likely to say on my channel. We have to be careful not to become the thing we hate. Yeah, I agree. But anyway, let's get to the next article too, and that would be I love this thing. People kept saying the scene is not in the movie.
No, of course it's not. You should all know by now that they create pictures and elements for the promos that are not going to end up being in the movie. All the marketing now is lies. It's like, you remember that one scene that everyone loves so much? Well, now we're going to add Harley Quinn to that scene.
This isn't a box office marketplace problem. This is a creative development problem, declared one movie marketing vet over the weekend over Warner Brothers' bold swing at foul Joker for Leia, which a production cost of $190 million plus net is coming in way below projections at $47 million or less. Friday was $20 million, which included previews of that figure. The industry projections are predicting a landslide today for the Todd Phillips directed sequel, down some 20%. Yeah, and this is another thing I don't understand. I was talking to Troy about this behind the scenes, and the first movie was modestly budgeted by modern Hollywood standards, and it was R-rated and made a lot of money, but also present to its budget. This one, they blew it up to a modern blockbuster standards, and now it's pulling in way less. If they had kept it to the budget of the original, this wouldn't be such an awful loss for them, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk more about this next week because there are going to be more repercussions. But this is an article by Anthony D'Alessandro. He goes on to say, the fear nowadays in some executive corridors is that headlines for a tentpole that's bombed is some nefarious harbinger for the end of theatrical, particularly after it's been rattled by COVID and dual strikes. No, think again. People are still interested in going to movies, evident in how the industry reduced this year's deficit versus the 2023 BO from 20% at the start of the summer to current 11%. You think R-rated comic book movies don't work? Look at what Deadpool and Wolverine did with 1.3 billion worldwide, unseating 2019's Joker, 1.1 billion, to become the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. The failure of Joker for Leia is clear as an azure sky of deepest summer. No fan of the original movie wanted to see a musical sequel, Mr. Phillips, period. There isn't enough lipstick to put on this Joker to indicate that it's any kind of a win. The original fans of this film, which, let's face it, are fanboys and men because they bought the tickets at 60%, kicked this clown to the street with a D cinema score and half-star and post-track. Anyone feeling Megalopolis deja vu from the last weekend, you're not imagining things. The film received a D+ in cinema score. The difference here, of course, is that Warner spent more marketing the Zoetrope and Lionsgate to get this Joaquin Phoenix Lady Gaga sequel to some cultural global relevance. No amount of clever marketing, not selling a pick as a musical, selling it as a Joker film could save this. The biggest promotional cardinal sin of them all, launching this sequel, which didn't have the goods at the Venice Film Festival. Why would any studio put a movie out there, particularly with the awful audience scores below, and let it sit on Rotten Tomatoes for a month with bad reviews? Does this not remind you of, maybe it wasn't Venice, was it Cannes, the Dial of Destiny debacle, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
Yep. That's a great analogy, yes.
So things are already coming out ahead of time that it's bad. Sources tell me it was all part of Warner Brothers appeasing Phillips, which is why they allowed him to make this auteurist Stephen Sondheim-like feature in the first place. Between the Hangover franchise and Joker, Warner Brothers has reaped $2.5 billion off of Phillips' fare at the box office. What do you do with a director who's done so much for you? Give him final cut. Joker 2 was put into development by previous Toby Emmerich administration and put into production by the current Michael DeLuca, Pamela Abdi era at Warner Brothers Motion Pictures. So I guess if I'm being fair to Zaslav, it probably was put into production before he got there.
I want to...
there was probably contracts signed, yeah.
I want to make a comment that may sound hypocritical, but hear me out. I will explain myself here. So back when we were talking about Coppola, right, we were saying, look, he doesn't care about the money. It's his money. He made the movie he wanted. He's happy with it. Who cares? Right?
But it's his money.
That's his money. Here,
it's the investor's
this
money.
Is somebody else's money. And I have a real problem with that. Now, I say that, and here's the hypocritical part. I also feel that too many of our franchises have been destroyed, not just by, woke insertions of stuff, but too granular oversight by the studios. And this is not something new. This goes back a long, long way. And somewhere between the studios expressing a concern and an artist knowing his art and his audience, you can end up with a masterpiece. You can also have an artist who is too full of himself, doesn't understand his audience, and a studio that doesn't understand any of the process, and you end up with a travesty. And I don't know. I think this might be all of the above.
Yeah, so the movie isn't part of current DC Studios Phase 1 Gods and Monsters, also compounding the problem here. Joker 2 wasn't tested, which in turn provides a problem when trying to create a marketing strategy. So there are no test audiences for this either, I guess. I'll get into Phase 1 Gods and Monsters in a minute.
I'm also going to argue too that we live in an era that's very different than the one I grew up in. When I was younger, you would hear reviews for movies, but if they were franchise films or, somewhat geeky films, you knew enough not to listen to Siskel and Ebert. It's like, they don't know what Star Wars is. Screw those guys, right?
In their defense, they liked the Star Wars movies.
I don't think they liked it originally.
Yes, they did.
Did they?
Other critics didn't, but they did.
Okay.
No, they were defending Empire in front of this other movie critic. Said, no, there's good stuff in here. They were saying,
Empire.
Even Jedi,
I'm talking Star Wars.
I think they gave that one thumbs up. Maybe it was Star Trek: The Motion Picture they didn't like.
Oh,
it's
kind of hard for me to blame them for that one.
They weren't terrible. The Ebert hated horror movies. They're not all the time. Some horror movies they like, but they would really go after horror movies.
But we do live in a different time now where I think everybody has turned against the institutional reviewers as being completely out of touch and knowing that they're complete.
Well, who are the institutional reviewers at this point? I mean, Kermode, I know he gave it thumbs up, which I don't know what.
Look at how many of them are actually working for an outlet that is owned by Disney.
Yes.
So they're never going to give a negative review to a Disney film.
Yeah, but I'll say this, and I want to go on a tirade in a minute, but I kind of want to get what is Warner Brothers doing with DC?
Oh, they have no freaking clue.
I think they have no idea what they're doing. I think they're
trying
to set up
that James Gunn does either.
They're trying to set up another for the second time, because remember they did this once before, a Marvel Cinematic Universe style DC universe. And I'm thinking now, after this movie came out, can they even put the Joker in a Batman movie right now?
Well, good point.
And I don't know if they had the permissions to do it anyway because of the patents in movies anyway, and which still have to be made.
And this always goes back to what I have always said about Warner Brothers, going back to before we had, Man of Rust or whatever he was, that whole Snyderverse thing.
Yeah.
They have shot themselves in the foot. They never had the situation Marvel did. They didn't have their rights spewed all over the place. Warner Brothers always owned it 100%.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that decided to not let their peas and carrots touch on the plate. All they ever had to do was say, you know what? If you want to work for us, if you want to make our Batman movie, then these are the restrictions. It's got to be a Batman in a shared universe who's going to be part of a Justice League. If you don't like that, we don't want you. Goodbye.
Yeah. But to be fair, Nolan was already into the Dark Knight before Marvel released. I mean, Dark Knight and Iron Man came out the same summer. They could have started over when Nolan was done with his Dark Knight trilogy.
Back in the 80s if they wanted to.
Yes, well.
They have owned these properties from the beginning. They have been playing catch up when they had absolutely no business doing so.
If you think about it, even with Marvel, the hills they had to climb over. Originally, it was like Paramount would release Iron Man, Universal released Incredible Hulk, and they would tie them in. And like other people, I don't know if Paramount had Captain America and the Hulk, and they had to work with these different people.
Nate's agreeing with me. See, I thought I was right. They didn't
Did
like
they?
Star Wars the first time.
Well, I don't know. I remember
they
they
had
were
to come
defending
back
Empire.
later and say we've reevaluated. It's not so bad.
Well, that's not so. Well, that's good if they do that.
Oh yeah, I get that. I'm just
maybe
saying,
they saw the George Lucas's edited cut.
Well,
no, I'm being mean here, but no. They can reevaluate. Ebert was kind of weird with Donnie Darko. He first gave it thumbs up, thumbs down, but he was on the fence. When the director's cut of it came out, he decided to give that version thumbs up because he basically said, you know what? It's one of the few times he actually basically changed his review. Now, of course, he could still, I'm giving this cut the thumbs up, not the old cut. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Curtis says, what do you guys think of this idea? Not mine, but I have been pondering it. The current Hollywood managerial class hate the stakeholders thinking they are rich fat cats and don't care to make
possibly the talent thinks that way. Yeah, I don't know.
Look, there is
the talent in quotation marks, by the way.
There is so much lack of awareness and understanding and arrogance in Hollywood. They think we make this stuff, you owe us, we are the royalty, you will pay us, you will eat what we make and like it and say, please may I have some more of that.
This is to the fans, basically, right?
Exactly. And if we slap Star Wars on it, if we slap Star Trek on it, these are brands they love. As long as we just keep putting stuff out and changing the name on them, they will pay for it.
Yeah.
And they are clearly wrong, and they refuse to believe it because they're not spending their own money. They're spending other people's money.
Let's go here. Here's a paragraph about the budget, though. Let me read this. Which leads us to the production cost. Some say 200 million. We believe it's 190 million. By the way, that's not the movie going over budget. That's what the movie was greenlit at. I understand.
Yeah.
However, how the hell did a budget for a movie which doesn't have a jackknife trailer truck stunt a la The Dark Knight and arguably little CGI mushroom from its original cost of 70 million? And that had major co-financers at the time of Village Roadshow and Braun, each taking 20%, 25% share to 195 million plus. If the budget doubled to 140 million, that's one thing. But it's clear who was minding the production ledger here during the David Zaslav job-cutting, cost-cutting, cash flow-apalooza at Warner Brothers Discovery. Sources tell me that between Phillips, Gaga, and Phoenix, they repped 50 million of costs.
Yep.
They each took 50 million. Domain co-financed Joker 2, I hear, to the tune of 25%. That's what he's saying. At least they took 50 million. And I'm just going to go on to there's more to it, but I'm just going to end on one of his last lines. What now? Well, the character of Joker in any form needs to go quiet for a while before he dances again on the big screen. And I think the author is right here, because let's be honest here. I don't know if they can just put the Joker in a Batman movie now after this as a villain.
Well,
I think they have to give it space now. They never
should have been giving him his own movie in the first place.
Yeah, well, I think if they had made it a one and done and we all moved on, that they could have been fine. But this is a disaster.
It really is.
I don't understand Warner Brothers. Even Disney, as much as I don't like them, I sort of understand the decisions they make. They're all about this modern political correctness that they insert. But I'll say this, even they can churn out a Marvel property and a Star Wars property even now that feels closer to that than anything Warner Brothers does with DC.
Yeah. He's talking about Disney, and he makes a point. He says they're also creating problems so that they can explain them later in a comic or some stuff.
Oh, please, and, yes.
Actually, I get why you say it that way, but I think to be more correct, they don't know how to tell a story, so they end up putting out something they think is wonderful, and then the fans come back and point out all the plot holes and why it's stupid. And then they put out a comic book to try and spackle over the cracks.
I think it was so expensive because no one really wanted to make the movie, so they all asked for inflated amounts of pay. Why did Lady Gaga get that amount? She wasn't part of the original movie. She didn't have to come back. They could have cast somebody else.
Yeah, well, she's actually a big name and talented, so
they figured she would be the draw to bring people in.
And,
but
maybe she, like he said, maybe she didn't really want to do this. But if you give me this much, I'll do it. Oh, you're giving me that much? Well, now I guess I got to do it.
They have no respect for us. They treat us like the unwashed masses. Yes, they do. It's not about you giving the audience what they want, but what they want to give us, which is to make us feel pain when we go to see their movies.
Which is fine, because two can play at that game. If they're not going to give us what we want, don't give them what they want. Don't give them the notoriety. Don't give them the satisfaction. And by God, don't give them the money.
This is like the people running the artists are all masochists and they're trying to inflict pain on the audience and getting off on it. I don't understand this. I don't understand Warner Brothers. And what was their big hit this year? Beetlejuice. I guess that did all right because they got Tim Burton back for that one.
Yeah.
I don't understand Warner Brothers, and you expect me to go rush out and be all happy about seeing a new Superman movie in the summer after all these botched jobs? What planet are you living on? It has to be better than the Richard Donner movie at this point to get me to want to see it.
I know.
Let's move on. We'll talk more about this next week. We're not done yet. There's going to be fallout.
Well, we're definitely going to be revisiting the how do you call it, the box office next week.
Okay.
And real quick, let's say hi to Nikki's Movie House.
Welcome, Nikki's Movie House.
She's a deleted scenes fan, and
have you seen this movie?
She stopped in. Yeah, well, there you go.
As for Todd Phillips, enjoy spending enjoy having a budget like this. You'll never have it again. You'll be lucky if they let you direct another comedy at this point. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be casting. I wouldn't be using him again for anything. This is ridiculous. The Outside. Netflix unveils Outside. It would have been a great Joker movie. Movie where the Joker is fighting Batman. Wouldn't that be something? I'm just saying. Okay. This is oh wait, I'm on Crackoon again. Give me a moment. Worth mentioning again though, right? Let's see. Netflix unveils trailer for first ever Filipino zombie film Outside. And I have to admit, I saw the trailer. Looks good. Looks creepy. I'll say that. Yeah. Outside, the first ever zombie film produced in the Philippines, has revealed its first full trailer. The Netflix feature from Filipino director Carlo Ledesma drops on the streamer on October 17th, and judging from the first proper clip, ramps up the tension and terror in the tropics. Outside is set in a remote province of the Philippines, an area of small villages, rice paddies, and sugarcane fields, and tells the story of a family trying to outrun the zombie outbreak by returning to their father's childhood farmhouse, fortifying it to keep out the dead ones. Though zombies are the key attraction, the film delves into issues such as generational trauma and abuse. The film stars Sid Luciero as the troubled father, Beauty Gonzalez as the strong-willed mother, and Marco Mas and Aiden Patiu as their terrified sons. Ledesma has a horror pedigree and was the filmmaker behind the cult Aussie found footage horror movie The Tunnel from 2011. I'll have to look for that one. See, they're always great horror movies you can look for if you've not seen them all.
Yeah,
I've not seen The Tunnel. It might be good. This one looks good.
And I'm going to say something else, and I actually have you to thank for this. I think more than anyone, Boomer.
Yeah.
Although I think the seeds of this were kind of planted when I was younger. There is something to be said for horror that is done by another country.
Oh yeah,
right? Another culture.
Yeah,
because
horror knows no nationality.
When you go,
yeah.
Well, on the one hand, there are certain universals.
They're universals, but then countries have their own takes on things too. Yeah,
exactly. There is a Jungian aspect. We all have a lot of the same fears, but part of what we find scary is what's different, right? Other cultures are alien to us. So if there's something in the way they do movies and whatnot, look, it's just like when we watch an old film that's black and white. can be a little off-putting, a little creepy, right? We're not used to it, right? Because it's moderately novel. Well, a foreign film in a different language with a different way of setting up scenes and, just different grain to it and different conventions of culture, that can set you off just the same way as something that's in black and white. I would point to the Hammer horror films for the American audience,
Yeah.
Not that British is really another language, but it kind of is.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so here we are, and so it looks good.
Yeah, I wanted to get that one in there. I think I sent that one to you, or did you send it to me? I forget now, but I like the idea of ending on something that looks potentially positive,
Yeah.
Wait, you mean actual diversity? Yeah. Imagine that. You want to do a story, about another culture. You actually go to that culture and make the film there, or have a film that they made. You distribute it here. That's a shock, right?
And I have no problem with people doing things in this country too of different backgrounds. I have a problem when they start doing the forced diversity that comes off looking fake.
And you made me think about it when you mentioned Blackula, right?
Yeah.
A so-called blaxploitation film, which ironically is less blaxploitative than what they're doing today with Yasuke in Samurai Japan.
Well, yeah, I heard I've heard good things about that movie, and I mean to watch it one of these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to say their take on. There was a black exploitation take on I think Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but I'm not going to get into what it was about. I think.
No, I don't know anything about that.
I think it was called Dr. Black and Mr. White.
Oh my gosh!
Which would have been kind of funny. It's like, oh my goodness! As soon as he changed, he wanted to put mayonnaise on his tacos. I'm sorry, I'm being bad.
Oh
no, not that I'm picking on any candidates out there. We're non-political here on this channel, right? Anyway, moving right along though. There we go, Geeky Geezers.
That's wow.
That's it for this week. We're done a little early. Anything left to say about Joker? Filet adieu?
I have absolutely nothing but contempt for. I didn't really actually watch the first movie anyway, so I'm not feeling too terribly tied to this film at all. So,
what were the big DC movies that turned out okay? I guess the Aquaman movie was all right because James Wan directed it and he's a competent action director. But they just, I don't know. It was just, I remember too when they announced the Aquaman animated series that followed the Aquaman movie. And I'm like, oh, this is like when they did Batman, the animated series after the Burton movies came out. And then it looked like this horrible, I don't even want to say Cal Arts. It was like worse. And it's like, what are you doing? You could have done a really cool, true to the comic book Aquaman series.
Yeah.
For the kids. And now you gave them junk. And it was, of course, HBO Max exclusive, or whatever they were calling it at that time.
Right.
So no one saw it. But,
well, we are well into the Halloween season for those of you that enjoy such things the way I do. And so later tonight over on Deleted Scenes, The Other Side of Midnight, he has invited me back. I don't know why. He keeps inviting me back. So I keep going because, I enjoy doing streams, and, as long as he's willing to let me chat on his channel, I will. But tonight, we have a very big panel, including Sin's Corner and Outlaw Bill and a bunch of others. We're going to be talking about our physical media collection, specifically, the horror film type stuff. Yeah, Netter's doing the thumbs behind herself, pointing to all the films that we have. Yeah, I'm going to have to go grab a couple of my boxes of DVDs so I can show them off. But
I don't know, man. I'm trying to think what you have on DVD. You got a lot of interesting stuff, don't you?
Well, one of the things I want to highlight, because I think it's something I could bring to the stream that not everyone does, is I tell you about how much of a completist I am. But instead of having 10, 15, discs, each one individual, I take them out of their clamshells and make, custom box sets. So they take up less room, but then I could do custom artwork on the covers.
That would be, not that you have time, but if you ever have the time, doing a video on how to make custom DVD covers would be a lot of help to some of us who lost many of their Blu-ray cases, but saved their Blu-rays during a certain hurricane a couple years ago. And I would love to learn how to replace those covers, even to make them original covers.
There you go. That's something to think about.
Did I ever tell you the horror story? I mentioned Let Sleeping Corpses Lie as one of my picks on Friday. And I originally got the cover. I originally got the Blu-ray for Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. That's the alternate title. And it had perhaps what I consider to be one of the worst covers for a Blu-ray I ever had. For starters, someone said, "What, did somebody make this on a Photoshop?" Half drunk while they're working on Photoshop. And of course, it's one of these great covers where they show one of the lead characters already turned into a zombie. And it's like, why do you do that? That's like a spoiler. And this goes back to old VHS covers where they would show the lead actor as a zombie. Don't do that. That's spoiling the movie.
Right. I've done the same thing with my box set of the original
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Yep. Because they did the thing with the Liberty. Yeah.
And it's like, look, I know I've already seen it. I know that I already and it's not like there's anyone in my house that's going to have anything spoiled for them by seeing this. But at the same time, I like to imagine how it should have been. So although I didn't just throw away the cover, it's still in there. I've got it wrapped in a new custom cover. So, but, and let's face it, when it comes to things like Halloween or Night of the Living Dead, franchises that have a kind of, shall we say, choose your own adventure element to it, it's kind of nice to be able to make up your own box set and say, this is how my version of this I feel should be. But tonight after we end the stream, you will be, if you're over on my channel, you'll be auto-dramatically sent over to deleted scenes for the other side of midnight. But here's the link if you're watching us on a different platform. But speaking of zombie films, that brings me to tomorrow night. We had a great talk the night before last, Friday night, about our favorite zombie films, you were just saying, and two of mine that I think are pretty good, that I think you guys would enjoy and may not have ever seen. I'm guessing probably haven't seen.
Right.
I'm calling it a zombie romance double feature. It's
nothing better than a zombie romance.
Absolutely. It's Fido and Warm Bodies, both kind of horror comedies.
Good for Halloween time, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, if you like Shaun of the Dead, you'll probably appreciate both of these films. Especially Fido, you'll especially like if you enjoyed Fallout. I'd say there's a degree of similarity. I think they kind of complement each other. So so that'll be Monday, 8 Central, 9 Eastern over on my channel, for Monday Night at the Movies. Tuesday, Boomer can't make plans too far into the future.
Yeah, but
because weather might be happening.
Flappy will be there in spirit, though. But I probably will not.
Flappy will be there like two sparrows in a hurricane.
Citing a miracle, I will not be there this Tuesday night. Okay, but
nonetheless, the rest of us will be there for Live from Sparkwood and 21 at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, over on Deleted Scenes channel. for episode 15 of Twin Peaks: The Return.
Yes.
Followed immediately after by my new stream rewatch of Blake 7. We're still on season 1, going into episode 4. The Liberator has rescued some of their friends from the prison colony and have taken off in the Liberator, and we'll see how they begin their campaign. So that'll be right around 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern on Tuesday on my channel. Thursday, Netter has a guest for Thursday things.
Real Wade Nation Gaming.
Real Wade Nation Gaming, who was here in the chat with us earlier. I don't know if you're still here, Wade, but yep. Tune in to Netter's Network on Thursday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Where she will be sitting down with and interviewing Real Wade Nation Gaming, talking about his channel, talking about all the things he's doing and all the places that you can find him. Then Friday, assuming that you haven't been washed down the river there, Age of Boomer, and you're able to join me, we will both be back on my channel.
Yes.
For Last Call.
Yes.
At 9 Central, 10 Eastern, for it's actually your topic, Boomer.
I know.
You suggested
so we'll see.
We talk about superstitions, and we are bringing in a very special guest, a returning guest, Nick from Beyond the Hub podcast.
Does he know a bit about superstitions?
Yes, he absolutely
That's good, because we may need to rely on him more than normal. We'll see, though. I will try to be there. Okay.
No, don't worry. I totally understand. But yes. So we do have a very special guest. Make sure everybody's on your best behavior. And
good man. He great channel too. I recommend you check him out.
Oh, absolutely. And then Saturday night. Well, you know what? I should back up. Thursday. Tune in right after Netter's Network to Deleted Scenes channel for his weekend update, so he can cover all the things I'm about to miss that he's doing all next weekend, because he's got a lot of them. I always lose track. I think he might be doing something with Big Al on Friday. Maybe there's something going on Saturday early evening or something. I don't know. So double check with Deleted Scenes on Thursday night. But Saturday night, Netter's Network's Retro Cinema, wonderful film. Do you remember what it is, Netter?
The Electric Grandmother.
Electric Grandmother. Maureen Stapleton. Oh, beautiful, beautiful film. I love it. It's going to be a short one on Saturday. It's just 1 hour, because this was a made-for-TV movie. But Last Call with Troy Pacelli might end up finding that he's got something in his eye by the end of that movie. So
Revenge of the Stepford Wives will be the next one. I'm kidding.
Oh, jeez.
I need to show you the trailer for Revenge of the Stepford Wives.
Yeah.
There was that, and there was Whatever Happened to Rosemary's Baby. That was the made-for-TV sequel to Rosemary's Baby.
Oh.
So bad. Patty Duke instead of, what's her name? Woody Allen's ex.
Mia Farrow.
Yeah. They had Patty Duke in there as the mom instead.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's like, no. Yeah, 21 in the Parkwood 21. There you go.
Yeah.
But and then that'll bring us back to Sunday, where there'll be a pre-show.
Yeah, we get Western Cinema with Deleted Scenes and Outlaw Bill in the afternoon, and then he does his unscripted rant that leads into our Geeky Geezers rants.
And then we'll be talking about the fallout from
Fallout Audio. Yeah.
From Fallout. Yeah, funny. Yeah, they should be calling it Fallout Audio at the rate it's going. Because I'm going to be very curious.
I'll probably name that topic Fallout Audio.
I'm trying to think of what meetings are going to be happening this week over at Warner Brothers. This might be an interesting week to pay special attention to Midnight's Edge. They'll be talking all about this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm going to be kind of looking forward to that. Oh, and that's the other thing. There were a lot of great reviews for this movie. check out Culture Casino, check out Midnight's Edge, and check out Big Al Presents. He
Yes.
dropped a 10-word review, but I think he
Okay.
probably had more to say than 10 words.
Well, half the words were F words. I'm sorry. Wait, I'm kidding.
Well,
I'm kidding.
here's the thing. We always say that Big Al tends to be the positive.
Yeah,
sunny,
he will see the silver lining in
he
any
usually
cloud,
sees
yes.
the silver lining, and he didn't give this a very good rating.
Everyone hates this movie, including many of the critics that usually are attacking the fans, and including the fans. They're all on the same page for once. Everybody hates this movie.
Yeah.
So it's just
Well, and then I heard that the director had some words to say about people that didn't like it.
Oh, really? We'll be talking about that.
We'll look at I'll see if I can find the article. But let me tell you something. When everybody's against you, it could be you, Doc.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. They shouldn't have put him in charge of that Green Lantern series. I'm joking, of course. I don't know. They put him in charge of it. I'm just thinking, what possibly
They
other
should
mistakes
not put
could
him
Warner
in charge
Bros.
of anything anymore.
Why are they doing a Green Lantern series? Okay. Good night, everybody. This was fun.
Take care.
More fun than seeing the Joker on screen again.
More fun than a sharp stick in the eye.
We'll never have a decent Joker on screen again. Heath Ledger was it. He's the last
guess.
good one. Yeah, he's getting it. I would like Jack